So if Canelo doesn't give Gennady Golovkin the fight coming September, Gennady Golovkin should not put his career on tilt, right? If Canelo doesn't want to give him the fight, go after other fighters. Do not, in other words, don't pull a page out of the Amir Khan book, right? And hurt your career because you're in the downside of the 30, right? You're in the other end of being a young 30. And Gennady Golovkin doesn't need Canelo. Obviously, it would be a hell of a fight to get Triple G to fight Canelo, right? Canelo being a little stingy with the catch weights, right? Before it's a reasonable catch weight. It's not like Canelo is scared of Triple G in the sense, right? He just needs time to build up. And it's not that Canelo is being unfair because shit, if you're fighting Triple G and if you can get an advantage because you're the A side and because you bring in the money, shit, Triple G is a scary ass motherfucker. I would impose a catch weight as well. But look, boxing is boxing, and that's what it is. So if Gennady doesn't get the Canelo fight, right, because he doesn't want to compromise, he should keep on moving forward and fight other fighters at 160. Fight Billy Joe Saunders, fight Tyron Johnson, fight Danny Jacobs, try to make a fight with him. Fight these fighters that will actually fight you, right? Because Gennady Golovkin should be a fighter of the year 2016. 2016 is in the year of the making for Gennady to be fighter of the year again, right? He should be fighting 3, 4, 5 times like he does. And if somehow, not Oscar, but Canelo doesn't give Gennady the fight, he should just keep looking to fight 3 or 4 more times. He can fight Billy Joe Saunders. He can make a fight with Danny Jacobs. And then if he fights those and Canelo still doesn't want to give him the fight, then he just move up and weigh and fight Chavez Jr., Badu Jack, because Andre Ward's already moving up to 175, right? He should be fighting these guys. If Cotto Canelo doesn't want to make the fight with Triple G should not put his career on hiatus. He can complain, and if Canelo still doesn't succumb to being fair and, hear just the people, then, hey, you know what happened? That was a straight dud. But Triple G should always keep fighting. He's a great entertainer. Nothing to take away from him. No one's calling him a snatch. No one's calling him overrated, at least not from this end. Triple G should just keep on fighting. The more he keeps on fighting, the more people are going to want to demand his services, and the more he eventually will be a household name. And eventually, when the money makes sense, if that's what Oscar or Top Rank are waiting for, right? Because these two are in cahoots with one another. They understand the stage and they understand people's demands. They know we want to see Triple G and Canelo fight, but the money needs to make sense in terms of them making over 1 million pay-per-view buys. So if Gennady cannot, or if Canelo doesn't give Triple G the opportunity in 2016, let's hope Triple G fights 4 times and then doubles down in 2017 to fight Canelo. In other words, I want to see Triple G fight as often as he can, unify all that division at 160, and if then Canelo doesn't give him the opportunity, then look to be fighting in a mega fight with Chavez Jr., and that shit would be a dope-ass year, and that would give Triple G that star name that he needs. Gennady Golovkin is a Kazakhstan professional boxer. He's the middleweight champion. He is the number 1. I don't care what any rankings say. This dude is number 1. Everybody knows him as the alpha male, the most feared man in boxing. He is the WBA, IBF, WBC, and IBO middleweight champion. In other words, Canelo might have a belt, Billy Joe Saunders and Danny Jacobs may have the belts, but everybody knows this dude is the most feared man in boxing. He's the one that you do not want to step into the ring and go in the ring with an advantage, also known as Triple G. This dude, let me just put it to you in perspective. He's undefeated, right? As a pro record with like a 90% knockout rate. But that's nothing. Check out his amateur. Besides his silver medal in the Olympics, check out his amateur record. He's got like over 350 wins to like 6 losses, 5 losses to his name. That shit is incredible. That's as incredible as Guillermo Rigondeaux's amateur pedigree. I believe Rigondeaux has like over 350 fights as well, and like 10 losses, or he's got over 400 and like 10 losses. Gennady has something similar to that. The difference is Gennady is a silver medal and then Guillermo is a 2-time. So this guy, obviously, people know him for his aggressiveness, his fan-friendly Mexican style, right? That they coined the term, etc. But what people don't know is the tricks that he's got under his sleeve. Triple G has a lot to offer that we haven't even seen before. He hasn't even exposed or shown all of his tricks up his sleeve. I mean, look, he's giving the fans a little sizzle, allowing himself check out the 4th round versus Willie Monroe. Now, I know Abel Sanchez is trying to hype up Gennady to be the next big thing, and Gennady may just be the next big thing. He just needs a dance partner. But in that 4th round versus Willie Monroe tags Triple G with a good jab and and snaps his head back. Gennady smiles, and he hits his chest, and he's like, come here. And then they rub forehead to forehead, and they start exchanging shots, and he starts taking Willie Monroe's best shot, inviting. There's an invitation for punishment that Triple G does. You know who also did that? Was Manny Pacquiao. Now, I'm not going to go on a leap and say Triple G is the next Manny Pacquiao, but in terms of domination and momentum and even the similarities, charismatic smile, fights everybody, doesn't care, allows himself, like when you hit him, he acknowledges, Manny Pacquiao used to throw his hands up in the air and be like, yeah, bring it. Gennady has that same Manny Pacquiao aura. I don't know how to describe it to you, but it's similar. Obviously, they fight differently, but they're very offensive minded, and they come to fight. Look, Gennady Golovkin is the most feared man in boxing for good reasons. This dude is not a bitch. He might have the good looks. He might say he's a good boy. He might smile with a carrot, but there's something mean in that dude's core that allows him to, let's say, just slaughter people, right? It's like it's a misanthropic attitude towards the human condition, I guess. He just goes out there and flat out hits everybody in his way. Look, if I haven't already blown your mind with Gennady Golovkin, he's 34-0 with 31 knockouts, right? And now, I don't know nothing about math, but that's like 90% knockout ratio to me. Now, there are some question marks with Gennady Golovkin. No one is saying that he's not a good boxer. No one is saying that he's shit. No one is saying that he's hype. Well, at least I'm not. At least not coming from this side. But Gennady Golovkin has a very adequate resume, to say the least. He beats nothing but winners. He beats title holders and takes their belts and makes it look easy. Fighters that have done that is Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather, beating tough competitors and made it look easy. For example, is this. Marco Antonio Rubio, right? Marco Antonio Rubio had beat David Lemieux in a tough barn burner type of fight. Rubio was getting tagged. David Lemieux tires off his shoulders. Hey, end of story. Marco Antonio Rubio had fought Anthony Durrell, right? And he gave Durrell a tough-ass fight. Now, many people expected Durrell to beat Marco Antonio Rubio because people were calling Rubio a bum because the way Triple G annihilated him in 2 rounds, hitting him like in top of the forehead, the frontal lobe, his legs just give out. Look, everything that Triple G does offensively, the way he cut off the ring, the way he stalks his opponent, the way he fidgets with his fist, his hips, his jab that he showed against David Lemieux, Triple G, there's something with this dude. Now, if we look down his resume, David Lemieux, Willie Monroe, Martin Murray, who gave Sergio Maravilla Martinez a tough fight over there in Argentina. Many people thought it was robbed. We look at Rubio, Daniel Gale, all these Curtis Stevens, who is a legit fighter, probably gave Triple G the toughest fight. If you haven't seen that, check that one out. I mean, we can go through his resume, and while there may not be known popular names, they're good, competitive, tough, top 15 fighters. Except when you go in there with Triple G, you're pretty much looking to survive, right? These fighters go in there with a scared look in their eye. Like, Willie Monroe didn't. Curtis Stevens didn't. But when Curtis Stevens got dropped, like, by Triple G, his eyes were like, whoa. He was like, holy shit, this dude hits fucking hard. That's Triple G, folks. Now, obviously, there's some criticism. As much as there's love Triple G for his action, for his humbleness, for everything. A lot of traits similar to Manny Pacquiao, right? He's very athletic. He's a great boxer. He's a heavy hitter. And he's a true professional in a sense. And he's got good sportsmanship, right? Doesn't do no low blow. In fact, when Curtis Stevens was talking a gang of shit, putting Triple G in a coffin, Triple G felt disrespected, and he made Curtis Stevens pay. You can even say that he was trying to impose his will and, like, death by a million blows, just punishing Stevenson, just hitting him, getting hit back, but at the same time just putting more hurt in him. And I think in that post-fight interview, Gennady Golovkin says something that was kind of very masochistic, like, I wanted to hurt him with pain because of what he was saying. It was very interesting. So Gennady Golovkin, I don't know his backstory or anything, but it's pretty interesting to find out what type of neighborhood this dude came from. Anyway, if there's any bad thing about Gennady Golovkin, is possibly his team, which leads me to say that Gennady Golovkin needs to learn English. Now his English is getting better. He's being more cohesive, being able to structure sentences. And the reason I say this is because you cannot allow Abel Sanchez or his team to keep talking for Triple G, saying stuff that Triple G is probably not even thinking, or maybe he is thinking. I'm not too sure. The trainer knows more about a boxer than a fan would know about a boxer, right? But at the same time, Triple G's team, which is a very good, competent team, and they're well spoken, but they say some things that could say, oh, there's double standards or hypocrisy in the sport of boxing when it comes down to Triple G. Now, obviously, Triple G's words are simple. Look, I'm a middleweight. I want to stay at middleweight. I want to unify the division. That's Triple G's words. Whether people are telling him to say stuff like that, we don't know. That's open to interpretation. That's a free book. But as of right now, Triple G said, I'm going to stay at middleweight. I want all the belts. I want Canelo. I want Danny. I want all these Billy Joe Saunders. I want unification. Now, here comes the criticism. Gennady Golovkin is 34 years old, right? He's a great boxer, could be a prize fighter, we don't know. But the thing is this, he's chasing unification in all these belts. I, for one, do not like so many belts and all these divisions. It's interesting, depends on where you look at it. It's good because multiple people can be the champs, right? And you get other people who deserve to be champs to hold on to a belt and stuff like that, and they get more money, they get recognition, and the hard work that pays off, you get rewarded. I understand that, but with all those belts, you kind of question, well, do the belts, the meaning, the significance of becoming a champion, now it's divided by 4, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? So Gennady is chasing unification when he already has like 4 or 5 belts and he wants all of them. That's nice, right? There's an image of Floyd Mayweather with his 2 arms and he's got like 8 belts. That looks nice, but that's excessive. You only need 1, or as long as people recognize you as the top dog, as pound for pound number 5 or whatever Triple G's in, you know what I'm saying? The people's recognition, the people's champ, right, is more important in my mind's eye than being excessively known as like a cherry picker, or you know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying Triple G and his team are cherry picking him ways to his success. No, it's great management and Triple G's rising to the occasion, making tough top 15, top 10 fighters look like 100, like making them look inadequate, right? Those fighters that Triple G is just tearing them up, lining them up, knocking them out. They look like amateurs. Gennady, in other words, Gennady Golovkin's brilliance and excellence is reminiscent of Floyd when he just makes Canelo, a fighter, look like shit. You know what I'm saying? Or Cotto look like trash, or Pacquiao look like shit. That Gennady Golovkin is similar to Manny and similar to Floyd in that aspect of making the competitors or their opposing enemies look like nothing, like easy work. And it's the opposite. It's just these guys are on another level. Now, Gennady Golovkin, going back on the criticism, is he's chasing unification, and the way I look at it, he should be going after an A-lister. Now, what I mean by that, you obviously already know what I mean by that, but what I'm trying to be more specific without being too rude is, Gennady Golovkin, again, is chasing unification, but he needs an A-lister, which means he's got to basically listen to the other divas, if you want to call it, like Canelo's catchweight, or Cotto's demands, or Andre Ward, and fight these guys, or an Erislandy Lara, somebody with an A-list resume that will bring you, or that will serve as a catalyst and to catapult you to, championship status or household name status, where people are like, okay, I know Triple G, this and this and that. Because he's got the looks, he's got everything going for him. He's got the undefeated, the 0. America loves winners, and Gennady is a winner. He's a knockout artist. He just needs the damn A-lister. And these fighters won't get into him because he's the most feared man in boxing. Not only is he a high risk, low reward, right? And if you beat him, well, that's going to catapult your career. But no one wants to step in the ring with Gennady Golovkin, at least not the A-listers. And if they do want to step in there, it's going to be either in their demands or they're asking for a lot of money. Danny Jacobs is asking for a lot of money, right? Because he knows what type of punishment he has received from a Russian, Demetrius Prorogue. He knows what he might just get into with Gennady Golovkin. Canelo was like, I need to get acclimated. I'll try to catch weight. I'm not ducking you. I'm just asking for a catch weight. And Gennady has been saying no. His team has said 154 and 168. So while people are speaking for Gennady, Gennady remains stagnant in 2 things. He wants to stay at 160, nothing wrong with that. And he wants to unify the belts, and nothing wrong with that. But if there was any kind of criticism that you would want to criticize Gennady, is like, dude, fight an A-lister. You're 34 years old. Everybody recognizes you as the people's champ, the best middleweight out there, the alpha male. dude, just fight an A-lister. If Canelo says 157, fight him at 157. That's fair enough. Even though the middleweight belt's at 160, boxing integrity is dead, right? These WBC or belt sanctioning, infrastructures, they want Canelo to, have that belt, and because it brings name recognition and it brings them more money, right? Because Canelo makes a lot of money. So Gennady needs to listen to the Divas demands, like just anybody's demands, Divas demands in terms of the A-listers, and fight them, beat them, strip them, so you can get that recognition. Because all Triple G needs is that dance partner, and it's not gonna be Billy Joe Saunders. It could be Danny Jacobs, it could be Canelo Alvarez or Miguel Cotto or whoever. But an A-lister, in order to get with an A-lister, you gotta meet with the demands. Look, Marcos Maidana, when he fought Floyd Mayweather, there was the glove controversy. He went along with it. Manny Pacquiao has always imposed catch weights. Floyd has always been like a diva type of thing, right? Canelo, not so much, but other than catch weights. And the list goes on and on. Cotto, the same thing. Catch weights, this and that. I'm not big. So Triple G somehow has to suck up his ego, that pride of boxing integrity that was good for the sport, and he is good for the sport. But because he's the most feared man in boxing, it almost works as like a reverse psychology in terms of his career. In other words, that he's so scary and he doesn't bring that much money in him. But if you beat him, it'll bring credibility. But beating him is a tough task. It's like, it's a pilgrimage beating him. You know you're going to get busted up like Gabe Rosado, big old gash underneath the eyebrow. You're gonna receive punishment. But you have to fight. All roads lead through Gennady Golovkin, unless you're gonna wait 3 years later when he's 37, if he's still boxing at that time, and then be a deteriorating Gennady. So Gennady, I feel like he's got all the power to his hands, all the power to his name, and he's got to sacrifice. Like every other boxer that have sacrificed before him just to make the best fights available, the most fights that people want to see, Gennady has to suck up his pride, start losing the 3 extra pounds that he needs to face Canelo or Danny Jacobs or whoever, and just beat him. Beat him, strip him of that belt so people can know that you're the pound for pound number 1. Look, some people may disagree with what I'm saying. Triple G, in my mind's eye, is the most feared man in boxing. I don't think it's Guillermo Rigondeaux, that he's another, and I don't think it's Sergey Kovalev, even though that could be another one. But people do not want to fight Triple G for good reasons. This dude is legit. He's a badass fighter. Everybody knows. I mean, you can watch any of his highlights. This dude brings it. You watch any of his post-fight conferences. Good boy, Max. He's a good champ. People like this dude's charismatic, so he's got everything going for him. He just needs the dance partner. And you can almost say other fighters price himself out. Well, Triple G, because he doesn't really do anything. He doesn't price himself out. He's not asking for any demands at all. Just like, hey, I want unification. If you don't want the belts, hand them over to me. So there's nothing to hate about Gennady Golovkin other than just suck up your ego and fight these A-listers, beat them, so all roads can lead through you. You can be a household name, high risk, high reward, and become a Floyd Mayweather. But in order to do that, Floyd Mayweather also met other people's demands. Like when he wanted to do the passing of the torch with Oscar the Lawyer, etc., he met with their demands, and then Floyd became the star. Well, Gennady Golovkin has all the traits of becoming one. He just needs to sacrifice a little more, compromise in the negotiations, so he can be that household star. Because if that doesn't happen, age is a factor in his career, and because he's the most feared man in boxing, it can work against him. It can backfire. So with all this said, this is Triple G. Check this dude out. This dude is legit.